This conference will now be recorded.
All right, in the last session, what we discussed, vendor invoice parking along with the transaction variant and the screen variant, correct?
Yes, sir.
How to hide post option on the parking, this one, and also we discussed about duplicate invoice posting for a vendor. Okay, now let's talk about vendor payments. Let's talk about vendor payment. Now, what should be the prerequisite before initiating a payment to the vendor? What should have been posted in the system? When we should give the payment to a vendor or to a supplier?
You should have
Item
invoice.
Invoice.
Invoice must be there. All right. I'll say supplier invoice must be posted. If you have a supplier invoice posted, what will be your vendor account balance? Is this a positive balance or a negative balance with vendor invoice?
Negative balance.
With vendor invoice, your vendor account shows a credit balance or a negative balance, which shows there is a liability. All right. Second case, can we initiate the payment to a vendor without having an invoice?
Advance payment we can issue, sir.
Which one?
Advance payment.
Advance payment, right. Advance or down payment. Okay. So one is either you have invoice posted or you have to create as a direct advance or an advance down payment. These are the two cases wherein you will be initiating payment to a supplier. Option number one, you must have created an invoice in the vendor account. Option number two, it must be a direct payment with respect to advance or a down payment. Now, can we just like that issue an advance or down payment to a vendor, or your advance or down payment is always with respect to a specific order?
Is specific to a purchase order.
Right? Whenever you are making any advance payment or any down payment, you are expecting something from a vendor. So your expectation can be, okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Able to hear you.
Okay, so whenever we are making advance payments to a supplier, we are expecting either a product or a service from a vendor, for which what we do, we initiate some payment, because there are certain products, there are certain services which vendor will not accept or vendor will not provide unless you make some initial payment. These kind of initial payments are treated as your advances or down payments. Now, before we start vendor payment related transaction, there are certain things that you must understand. First thing that you have to talk about is mode of payment. When we talk about mode of payment, what do we exactly mean? What are the different ways to issue the payment to a vendor from a business point of view?
Might be a cash check.
So one, I'll say cash payment.
Cash payment. Check bank transfer.
Check payment. Third one, bank transfer. Clear? Are these three correct? Valid?
Yes,
So
sir.
you can either issue a cash payment, or you can issue a check, or you can do a direct bank transfer to the vendor account. To do all these kind of transactions, you need to have sufficient or relevant configuration in your system. It is not that just like that you can select a cash account and give cash payment, you will select a bank account, issue a bank payment. It is not that way. you have to understand the exact business requirement in your client, what kind of payments are currently issued and how they are currently issuing it. If I say we are issuing a cash payment, how are you issuing a cash payment? If your payment amount is 1,000 rupees, are you issuing a cash? If your payment amount is 50,000, are you issuing a cash? If your payment amount is 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh, are you still issuing a cash? Now there has to be a limit with respect to each mode of payment, correct?
Yes, sir.
If I'm talking about cash payment, I have to understand. It's not that, okay, if you're issuing a cash, you go and select cash account, debit or credit cash account, select the vendor account, initiate the payment. It is not correct. It may be correct from SAP point of view to pass the entry, but from business point of view, you have to understand what is your client process, how they are currently following the process in terms of cash payments. Let's say for cash payment, I'll say cash payment is applicable up to 20,000 INR. Now, is there any limit or not? Do we have a limit now? Or I can make cash payment as I want?
We have a limit.
No, there is a limit. What is that limit?
20,000.
20,000 is the limit, which means I have to ensure what is my vendor outstanding. If my vendor outstanding is up to 20,000, I can issue cash. But is it mandatory that we have to issue cash? No, this is always optional. You should preferably opt either check payment or bank transfer wherever possible. When your vendor does not accept a check, when your vendor does not accept a bank transfer, that is where you are going to consider cash payment. Otherwise, usage of cash payment for your supplier payments is not recommended. Clear? Let's say now you have a limit of 20,000. Fine. Now, what about check payment? So when you're issuing a check, what is needed if I have to issue a check?
Checkbook.
Okay, you need checkbook. Fine. But to have a checkbook, do you need bank account or not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? You need checkbook, you need bank account. And if I have checkbook, if I have bank account, is it fine that we can issue a check or anything else is needed? I have my bank account. So when I say I have my bank account, I am representing an organization. So which means
We
my
can check
company
the
has a bank
balance
account.
also.
Sorry.
We require the sufficient balance or not. We need to check also.
Right. You need to also make sure available amount or bank balance. All right. So in order to make bank transfer, what do we need?
Authorization.
What authorization?
Account number, IFSC code.
Okay. Account number, IFSC code. Okay. Net banking. What else? What else is needed? That's it. With this information, can I initiate the bank payment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's assume cash payment. Let's go ahead with cash payment. If I say purchased or travel expenses paid to vendor 3,500 INR. Now there are certain travel expenses which are paid to the vendor 3,500. Now if I have to make a cash payment, what will be the accounting impact?
Traveling expenses debit to. No.
Travel expense debit, fine. What will be credit?
No. Cash payment will be, vendor will be credited and cash account will be
Is this
debited.
correct?
No.
This is not correct. Then what is correct?
Vendor account will be credited and cash
Vendor
account
will
will
be
be.
credited. Okay. This is your expense booking or liability booking, followed by your vendor account debit, cash credit. Is this correct now?
Yes, sir.
Agree everybody? Is this correct? Accounting treatment for your cash payment? Yes, no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, okay.
Yes, sir.
Here there is no payment involvement. This is just your liability. Okay. You're booking liability in your vendor account. So this is your payment. Okay. This is your payment or settlement transaction. Correct? Here is where you are doing settlement or payment to your vendor. When you are issuing a cash to your vendor, how are you going to issue a cash? Who is going to issue cash to the vendor? Is it something that you will courier cash?
Cashier.
If you have to issue a cash payment to the vendor, do you need vendor to come physically to your office to collect the cash, or you will send cash with somebody to your vendor? What will happen? Normally, can we courier cash?
No, sir.
Only physically we can transfer.
Right? Normally, we do not entertain, or no organization entertains couriering of cash. So what should happen? Your vendor is supposed to visit your office and go to the cash counter, collect the cash. Correct? So here what will happen?
Yes, sir.
Vendor will have to physically come and collect the cash from cashier. Correct? Vendor has to come and collect the cash from cashier. Now, all the cash transactions are managed in petty cash or cash journal functionality in SAP. All your cash journals, all your cash transactions are managed in either petty cash or cash journal functionality in SAP. In short, if somebody is asking you how do you make vendor payments using a cash, which functionality should we use?
Cash journal.
Cashier.
Cash journal functionality is what you have to use. Now, cash journal is subject to daily reconciliation. Okay, cash journal is subject to daily reconciliation. What does this statement mean? daily reconciliation of cash.
At the end of the day, it has to tally. Opening and
Right? At the
closing.
end of the day, whatever the cash that you are holding physically and whatever the
Except that.
cash balance you are showing on SAP system must tally. That is what your cash reconciliation means. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, somebody might ask you, what is cash reconciliation? Now, what is your cash reconciliation? How cash reconciliations are performed? So, using your cash journal. If you are not using a cash journal functionality, there is no tracking for reconciliation. So, in short, if an organization is using a petty cash expenses or cash journal, they must follow daily reconciliation system so that what is the cash available in the morning and what is the cash available in the evening, which means opening hours of the business, closing hours of the business must agree with your SAP balances, accounting balances. Now, these are all executed using your cash journal functionality, which is this screen. Okay, let me pick any one cash journal for just to get an idea. Okay, you will find cash journal screen like this, wherein you will see the daily balance. Now, is it showing current date 8th February 2023? Correct? Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
on
sir.
this date, system will tell you what is your opening balance. Okay, it will tell you what is your opening balance. It will tell you the total cash receipts, how many cash receipts you have made, and this will give you number of transactions that you have created. Let's say if you have received 12 cash payments, it will give you count as 12 here, and the 12 payment total is what you will find here. Similarly, check receipts, if you have received any checks, it will give you here, and if you made any cash payment, that will show here, number of payments made and total amount of your payment. And then you will find the closing balance of cash here. At the end of the day, you have to ensure this balance is exactly matching with cash in hand with the cashier. Clear? Now, this is what is done for your petty cash expenses or petty cash. In other words, cash journal transactions. If I have to make a payment to my vendor, I am supposed to come to this screen. On this screen, I have to go to this cash payment tab. Do you find cash payment tab here? In cash payment, do I find vendor option here? Do you find vendor option here?
Yes, sir.
So I have to give the vendor number here and I have to put the amount that I am giving to vendor here. In our case, let's say if this is 3,500, I'll have to put 3,500. I'll have to put my vendor number here. Let's say some vendor number, and whatever the amount you are trying to pass here, this amount should meet your closing balance requirement. Okay, if my closing balance is 2,000, can I make a payment of 3,500?
Not possible.
No.
Closing balance is nothing but available balance. If available balance is 2,000, it is not possible to make the payment of 3,500. But when I try to pass a JV, when I try to pass a JV, if I go to the other journal entry screen, okay, let's take single screen for example. Here, I can put vendor account, I can put cash account, I can put 3,500. Now here, is the system going to validate what is your available cash or not when you try to pass a JV?
No.
When you try to pass a JV like this, system is not going to check whether the balance is available with you or not. It will accept whatever the amount you put. Correct? There is no validation, there is no control here. So that is why most of the organizations do not prefer recording of direct entries in cash account. So your cash account is strictly gets posted using cash journal function. So what this cash journal function will do is it will not allow you to record any cash transaction above your limit. If my available cash is 2000, I cannot do any payment or I cannot make any expense above 2000. It will straight away stop me, stating balance is not sufficient. Clear? So people might ask you tomorrow what are the functionalities of petty cash or cash journal in SAP. If you have to explain the functionality of cash journal to your client or to your user, what are you going to explain? How you are going to present? Then you should have some unique examples of your own to convince the other person. It is not about your explaining the configuration steps of cash journal in SAP. It's all about 3 steps or 4 steps in SAP. But when you have to convince the other person, you have to convince them with proper justification or proper business examples. Right? So if I have to make this payment of 3,500, so on my petty cash, let's say, let me try to take any other cash channel where there is some balance. FBCJ. No, I think there's no balance. Let me check from the table in which cash channel there are transactions. PCJ underscore postings. Very slow. Positions. Okay. Enter. I'll just execute 27 entries.
For check receipts, we should use cash receipts, right? Cash journal, sir.
No, we don't use that cash channel for check receipts. Though the functionality is available, but we do not use it.
We use F-28 account.
Right. You have check deposit process that will be used. It's very slow.
When we deposit the cash to the bank, we don't get denominations, no, sir.
When you deposit check in
No,
bank,
no. When we deposit cash to the bank, we don't get the cash denomination option. Like how many
no, no,
2000
we do
notes, how
not.
many.
If you want the denomination, you'll have to put that manually in the text column.
Okay.
Okay, so let me take company code 3366 just to show number how it will reflect. 3366. Okay. Now, if you look at this, what is the closing balance here? 55,000. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
If your closing balance is 55,000, represents you have 55,000 in your cash counter. And if you get any request to make the payment for 65,000, can I make the payment for 65,000? If I get
No,
a
sir.
request to make the payment
No,
for 65, can I do it?
no, sir.
I
No, sir.
cannot do because my balance is not sufficient. Here system will stop you. If you are initiating a payment transaction, if the payment amount is more than available cash, this amount, it will not allow you to record the entry, which means there is a control that your cash balance will not show a negative balance. Right, so you have to remember cash account should not show negative balance. Okay, cash account should not show negative balance. Now, if I am allowing my user to pass the entries using these kind of screens like JV screens, in short, you call it as JV or direct entries or direct postings in your cash GL account. There is no control, right? System is not going to verify why you are debiting, why you are crediting, whether your balance is sufficient or not. There is no such control. So user can pass left and right, which might result a negative balance in your cash account. If my cash account is showing a negative balance, is that correct or incorrect?
Incorrect.
My cash account should never show a negative balance. If it is showing a negative balance, then there is some accounting blunder, right? Whatever the entry which is posted, it's a big mistake. So you have to keep all these points in your mind when you are doing cash related transactions. Just like that, do not use cash account right from the beginning. Right? Initially, whatever you have posted is fine, but from now on, if you are posting a cash transaction, if you are using a cash GL account, you have to be conscious. Right? If you are using direct JV screen, you have to think why you are using direct JV screen instead of cash journal screen. What is the reason? Clearer? System will allow you to record anywhere, but why you are strictly supposed to do it, you must be aware of. So this is about your cash. So you have to remember one point. Any cash transaction you are going to do, you must use cash journal screen and you must implement or you must configure cash journal configurations. Clear? Cash journal concept is mandatory for any cash related payments. Now, second one, bank payments. Second one is your bank payment. For bank payment, what is needed for an organization? Company must have a bank account. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Company must have bank account. This first point. And in bank payment, you can either have check payments, you can have bank transfers. Correct? Within bank payments, I can either go for check payment, I can also go for bank transfer. If I have to go for check payment, what is needed? So we need
check check numbers.
check stock. Okay, when we say check stock, companies will not get checkbook like we get. Okay, companies will not get checkbook like we get, because when you get a checkbook, your checkbook is of, let's say, some 20 leaves or 50 leaves, correct? 20 papers, I mean 50 papers, 100 papers.
Yes.
But in a month, company may not be creating only 20 payments, 50 payments, correct? They might be making payments in hundreds,
Yes, sir.
right? Now, let's say company needs 300 check payments in a month. Now, for this requirement to be fulfilled, how many checks must be readily available with the organization? If in a month we are issuing 300
300.
checks, 300 payments, you need to have minimum 300 checks, correct? So to issue a check, below points are mandatory. To issue a check, what points are needed?
Check number.
I need check number. What else?
Payment document number.
If you have check number, it is fine. Check date is not needed.
Check date is needed.
Next,
Amount. Signature.
Paying.
check amount is needed.
Signature. Payee's account.
Payee name. Next,
Bank account number.
authorized signature. Correct?
Yes, sir.
These 5 points are very important. Your bank name and all are pre-printed on the check. Your account number, your bank name are pre-printed on the check. Agree? Right. In fact, this check number is also pre-printed on the check. But this is optional in SAP. You can either have pre-printed check or you can print the number on the check. Both are possible. Let's say check number, let's say this is pre-printed. This is important anyways, right? Otherwise, if my check number is 1, if I put check number 2 on the printer, now is my check printed correctly or incorrectly? I have to give you check number 1, but I have printed check number 2. Is this correct or not correct?
Incorrect.
This is incorrect. So your check number is mandatory. Before you put this on the printer, you have to ensure what is the check number to be given to your vendor, and you have to put the same check number on the printer so that you'll get right information on the check. Let's say check date. Is this manual input or pre-printed?
Manual input.
Manually input.
So this is pre-printed from bank. Check date is manual input. Check amount.
Manual input.
Check amount is also manual input, correct? Name.
Manual input. That is.
Name is also manual input, correct? Signature.
Same, manual input.
Signature is also a manual input, which means check date. If I put wrong, can I erase that and then rewrite the name, I mean the date, or I need to void the check and write another check?
You have to void the check.
We need to write the check.
Let's say check date should be, date is 7. If it is 7/02/2023 is supposed to be the check date. But instead of this, let's say I have given 02/07/2023. Now this is wrong. Now, instead of putting 7th February, I have put 2nd July. Now can I encash this check today or tomorrow, or I have to wait until July?
Wait till July.
I have to wait until July. But will anybody wait?
No.
Nobody will wait because this is my mistake, right? I did a mistake by writing incorrect date on the check. Now, if I strike out the date on the check, if I put this 02/07 as 07/02, if I overwrite it, will this be accepted by the bank?
We need to put the signature again.
Is
Authorized
that,
signature.
but is that allowed in an organization? Corrections on the check? Is that right procedure to be followed in an organization?
Mostly it
Not
is not
allowed,
allowed.
Ramesh.
Yeah.
Right? Mostly this is not allowed.
Okay.
Mostly this is not allowed because it will have to undergo additional signatures, and your bank may not accept it. They might say that no, we will not accept it. Any corrections on the check are not accepted because your bank is not aware whether this is changed by you or somebody else, or they have done sign forgery. Correct? So lot of points will come into picture. Bank may not accept it. So in such cases, what you need to do, you need to void the check, void, and issue a new check. Correct? Now these kind of a manual mistakes, or these kind of a mistakes are possible or not possible?
Yes, possible.
These kind
Possible,
of
sir.
a mistakes are possible, right? Amount I may put wrong, name I may put wrong, signature I may put incorrectly. Now, which means if I want to have 300 payments in a month, do I need exactly 300 checks, or I need to have more than 300 checks?
More than 300.
We need more than 300 checks. Now, do you get any checkbook with 300 leaves on it?
No, sir.
You will not get any checkbook containing 300 leaves on it. Normally, what an organization will do is they will have an agreement with the bank, and they will have the format of the check. So option number one, bank will give you the check stock or check lot, or you will get this printed from outside. Okay, either bank will give you the check lot or the bundle with 500 checks or whatsoever, or you will get this printed with the bank format. So some organizations will have their checks printed from the outside to save the cost. Some organizations will get these checks printed from the bank. Now bank will give you, a big sheet of checks containing 500 or 1000 checks, and each check will have pre-printed number. Each check will have what? Pre-printed number. Each check will have check number mentioned on it. Correct? Now if you take, let's say, this as your check, if I take this as my check, let's say I'll have name like this, company name. Where do you find the name? let's say payee, date will be on the left or right side?
Right side.
Right side.
Right side.
Next, payee will be here, amount will be here, I'll put this here. Correct? Is this the information that we see on the check in general? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So ignore your bank account number, header, footer, and all. But this is the key information that is mentioned on the check. You have the date, you have the
Yes.
amount, you have to write the payee name, you have to put amount in words, and then you need to have the signature. Only then this is valid. Now, this check stock will have check number somewhere at the bottom. Let's say, let me put at the bottom check number. Let's say 00123456. Assuming this is the check number. Like this, I do have multiple checks with me. If I have some 500, so 500 checks will be with the continuation serial number 1 to 500. Correct?
Yes, sir.
All the check numbers must be updated in SAP as check lot. Check numbers are updated as what in SAP?
Check
Check
lot.
lot. Check.
Check lot. Check lot contains is nothing but the checkbook. If you see a simple checkbook is a bundle of your 20 checks or 50 checks depending on the size of your book. Correct? If I have, let's say, 20 leaf check. Now, all my 20 checks are in sequential order or non-sequential order.
In sequence.
Right? Majoritarily, all your checks will be in sequential order. If my first check number is 1, my last check number will be 20. So your check number will strictly follow digit. Right? When I say digit, if your check number is a 6 digit, then all my check numbers will be 6 digit in length. Correct? My check number will never be 1 to 20. If I'm mentioning check number like 1 to 20, even for my practice purpose, I am wrong. Let's say I am operating account in HDFC Bank. Right? So check number, let's assume is 20115411. This is the check number. If I am having 20 checks, what will be my last check number? 20115430. Correct? Is this correct? If I am operating 20 checks, My first check number will be 20115411 and my last check number will be 20115430. Is this how you get check number or in any other form?
Correct, sir. This one.
Right? This is how you will get it. So in SAP, what you have to do, you will have to define a check lot number and you have to mention this as first check number, this as the last check number. Okay. And every payment document number must contain the check number with it. Okay, every payment document number must contain check number with it, which means if I am issuing a check to a vendor, now I will issue a check to a vendor only after making the payment transaction or not.
Yes,
Can
sir.
I issue a check to a vendor before posting the transaction in the accounting or after posting the transaction in accounting? When do we normally issue a check to a vendor? After posting the payment entry or before posting the payment entry?
After
After
posting
the
the
payment
payment
entry.
entry.
Right? After posting the payment entry, which means when you are posting a payment entry, you will get a journal entry number or journal voucher number or entry number, document number. To that document number, you must link check number. Tomorrow, if I want to know, did we make payment to XYZ vendor? If your answer is yes, then he will ask what is the check number, correct? Tomorrow, if your vendor is asking for payment related information, he says, no, we did not receive your payment. Then how are you going to support your statement? You're going to support your statement by mentioning, no, for this invoice, we have already made the payment and this is your check number. If you do not have this connection, if you do not have this information, it will be difficult to convey the message to the vendor, correct? And your vendor might contact anybody, right? If you are the person who is initiating payment, your vendor might contact somebody from another department. Now anybody must be able to get the information for the system from the system. For that to happen, you have to ensure proper settings are maintained, proper procedure is followed. Clear? Let's say. Now all these check payments. Now this is how your check will look like. And there are 5 informations we are updating on the check. What are those 5 informations on the check? Can somebody read out these 5 inputs
Yeah.
to be
Check
mentioned on
number,
the check?
check date. Yeah. Check number, check date, check amount, payee name, and authorized signatory.
Right. These are the 5 inputs that must be present on the check. Now, this is in general for us to initiate check payments or for us to use check payments from the business side. But in SAP, for cash payments to be executed in SAP, which functionality should we use?
Cash journal.
Cash journal.
For cash payments, we have to use cash journal. Similarly, for bank payments, you must use, for bank payments, what we need to use?
House banks.
House bank.
House bank. If you do not have house bank, it is not possible for you to create any kind of a bank payment from SAP. Clear? If you do not have cash journal, no cash transaction is permitted or is allowed in SAP. Similarly, if you do not have house bank, no bank payments are allowed in SAP. So this is your first point. Before you create any bank account, before you post any transaction in your bank account, always remember house bank setting is mandatory. Now, when you're creating a house bank, what exactly is the house bank? What do you maintain in the house bank? So whenever you talk about house bank, you will also talk about account ID, house bank, and then what is the next term?
Account ID.
House bank and account ID. You must be clear with house bank and account ID. Let's say if an organization has a bank account with HDFC bank. Now, if I give you a statement stating a company is holding an account with HDFC bank, is this meaningful or not? First level information that you want to know whether you have bank account or not. If yes, you need in which bank do you have the account, correct? So in which bank do we have account?
HDFC.
HDFC.
HDFC Bank.
Now this HDFC is now giving you a first impression that where you are holding the account. But is HDFC operating only at one place or HDFC is operating at multiple places?
Multiple places.
HDFC is operating at multiple places. Each place of HDFC operation is called as what? Branch,
Branch. Yeah.
right? So if I'm telling that I have an account in HDFC, I should also mention HDFC which branch? Hyderabad branch, Bangalore branch, Mumbai branch, correct? If I'm talking about Hyderabad, I again need to mention where in Hyderabad. Yes, no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I have to mention where I am operating my account in HDFC. That will make me understand to find out further information about my bank. Let's say if I'm talking about HDFC Hyderabad, I have to be very specific. HDFC Hyderabad, let's say Madhapur branch. Mute your this one, somebody. I don't know who is it. Okay, if I'm talking about HDFC Madhapur branch, this Madhapur branch will have some unique number. What is that unique number which is allotted for each branch of a bank?
Mm, IFC code.
FS.
IFSC code. Alright.
Code.
So this information is very important. If you're talking about a bank, you must tell in which bank you're holding the account, in which branch you're holding the account, and what is your account number, what is your account currency, what is your bank IFSC code. Correct? Without which I cannot initiate any transaction. Agree? All right. Now, companies will operate savings or salary account. Which account is operated by a company? Is it a saving account or a salary account?
Current account.
It is
Current
not
account.
savings account. It is not salary account. I think you'll have to mute one of your this
Salary
one, Raju.
account. Salary account.
Companies will not operate salary account. Companies will not operate savings account because company will not get salary. Company will pay salary. Right? Employee will operate saving salaries account, not the companies. Okay, so this statement is wrong. So people might ask you in your interviews to check if you are confident or not. If you are going with them, because normally what some people might tell you, they might give you both incorrect options. My question is, will company operate savings account or salaries account? So don't be
Current
trapped.
account.
State, right? So they will operate which account?
Current account.
Current account. So these are the certain basic points we must be aware of. People might create this kind of a tricky questions to trap you. Make sure you are confident. Right? companies will operate current accounts, right? For every bank account, bank account requires below information. What information is needed for a bank account?
Account holder name.
So first, let's say I need
Account
bank
number,
name,
bank name, account
bank,
number,
branch,
account, ad-
account number,
branch, IFSC code,
IFSC code. Next,
country,
okay.
bank country, address, branch address.
Bank branch contains the full information, okay, including the
Okay,
address. What else?
that's it.
That's it. It is the same. Whatever the information we need when you open an account, the same information is needed for an organization, for a company. Correct? Is this correct? The input that we've given on the sheet. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's say this is, I'll put HDFC Bank. Branch, I'll say Madhapur. Account number, I'll say okay, I'll say this is account number. IFSC code, let me put something like this. Bank currency, country, India. Account currency, INR. Because you can also operate the account in foreign currency. Possible?
Yes.
Right? You can also operate foreign currency account. Now, I need all this information before I create a bank or before I initiate a bank transaction. Agree? Can I initiate any bank transaction without this information? Possible or not possible?
Not
Practically.
possible.
Not possible.
Without this information, initiation of any bank transaction is not possible. Now, when you're recording any transaction in SAP, is this a business transaction or a dummy transaction?
Business
The,
transaction.
You're going to record a business transaction. Is business transaction possible without this information?
No, sir.
It is not possible, right? Before we post any bank related transaction, we must complete house bank related configuration in SAP. Clear up? Agree with my statement?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? If I wanted to initiate or if I wanted to create any bank related transaction on my SAP system, I must have house bank related configuration, without which, even if you are practicing, do not create any bank GL account, do not post any bank related entries in SAP from now on. Whatever you have posted so far is fine, but from now onwards, strictly no bank GL account posting without house bank configuration. Am I clear? Stop using bank GL account codes directly if you have not done house bank related settings for it. Okay. Now, prerequisites for house bank creation. So first thing that you need is complete bank account information. When I say complete bank account information, I mean these points. Clear? When I say complete bank account information, I mean these points: bank name, branch, account number, IFSC code, all these points. Once you have this, now who will give this bank account information? Is it something that you will assume on your own, or is it something that you will get from your client?
We'll get from our client.
Right? You will get from your client. House bank is a master data in SAP. House bank is what?
Master data.
Master data. Though it is part of your configuration, but you call it as part of your bank master. What is this called? Bank
Bank.
masters. Right? So as a FICO consultant, we have to give house bank template to client to provide the bank details. Clear? You might be questioned tomorrow in your interview. Have you worked on house banks? If you say yes, then they might ask you, how did you create house bank? If you are answering the transaction codes of house bank, then you're gone. The impression is wrong, or you get not an impressive impression. Right? You will have to tell how you created house bank. You have to tell you have given house bank template to your client. What we have given first to the client?
House bank template.
House bank template, and then your client will fill up the house bank template, and then he will send it back to you with bank account number, bank name, IFSC code, country, account currency, bank address, and all. Based on that template, you are going to create, or you are going to set up house bank using configuration. Now tomorrow, if your bank account number is given incorrect, who is going to take the responsibility? Correct? Then there has to be a proof that this is what you have given. The same thing has been updated by me, for which there has to be a formal communication between you and your client or your user. Agree? I'm not supposed to give my bank information over the call or over the Teams chat or whatever it is. It has to be through a formal email. Clear? If your client had given bank account number incorrect or IFSC code incorrect, then is it your fault?
No, sir.
It is not your fault, but for that to justify, you need some official communication that this is what you have given. If it is a typo mistake, it is a typo mistake of your client, not you. But before creating it, you have to ensure all these points, because bank master is one of the sensitive master records in the system. Clear? If something is wrong, then there is a huge financial impact. So wherever you are creating information related to banks, you have to be very, very conscious, and you have to be very, very careful. Now, once you get the information of the bank account from your client, then you will have to do the configuration. Now, house bank is to be created, and then let's say I'll put this here, house bank, and under house bank you have two ones. One is house bank, two is account ID. Clear? Under house bank, what are the two components you will find?
House bank and
What are
House
account
these?
bank
ID.
and account ID.
House bank and account ID. This is a config in ECC and HANA. What is house bank? This is config in ECC and HANA. When I say config, what do I mean?
Client level.
I mean configuration. Correct? When I say configuration, is it something that is created in each client, or is it something that is created in one client?
One client.
Configuration is created in each client separately, or configuration is created only in one client and moved to the other clients using transport request,
It is moved.
right? Whenever you are talking about configuration, configuration is always created in one client and moved to the other clients using transport request number or TR number. Account ID, this is a configuration in ECC and master data in HANA. Clear? What is account ID? Account ID is a configuration in ECC and master data in HANA. Now, if I am talking about ECC component, or if I'm talking about ECC version, when I'm talking about house bank, is everything configuration or partially configuration in ECC?
And everything is
Configuration.
configuration.
ECC house bank is fully configuration. In HANA, fully or partially?
Partially.
Why partially configuration?
It is take automatically the data.
What is master data in HANA, in house bank?
Bank master.
What is master data in HANA? Account ID?
Account ID.
But account ID I've mentioned, this is configuration in ECC and master data in HANA. That is why in HANA, house bank is partially configuration, which means only house bank you will do as configuration, account ID you will create as a master data. Clear? And you might be questioned, how do you set up or how do you configure house banks in S4 HANA system? Then the point or the reason why they ask you these kind of questions, to get these kind of answers, that you will mention only house bank is configuration in HANA, but account ID is part of master data. Okay, account ID is part of master data. You have to be very specific with these points. Otherwise, you will not be able to convince the other person unless you are clear, unless you are confident with these small points. Okay, now GL account allotment for bank accounts in SAP. GL account allotment for bank accounts in SAP. So for every bank account, we have to allot 10 GL numbers in SAP. How many GL numbers for each bank account? How many GL numbers?
10.
10.
10 GL numbers will have to be allotted for each bank account in SAP. Now this 10 GL count is from 0 to 9. What is this 10 GL count? Not 1 to 10, it is 0 to 9. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now they might also question you, what are those 10 GL accounts you will create for a bank? And you have to tell these 10 GL accounts will range from 0 to 9. Now according to us, what is our GL account length?
8,
10 digits.
10 digits.
In our scenario, let's say in the chart of account, GL length is defined as 8 digits, and then bank account group range is, let's say, 120, 1, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 to 1 2. Let's say this is the GL account range for bank accounts. If I have to allot one house bank, or if I have to allot one batch of GL numbers for a particular bank, what will be my first series? How am I going to pick the first 10 digits, 10 account numbers? If I'm talking about HDFC Bank, HDFC Bank, Madhapur. Okay, so what will be the GL for it?
1 2 followed by zeros.
1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 2 1
9.
2
9.
9.
9. Correct? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 digits. Is this correct? Am I correct with this GL allotment for this bank, or wrong?
Yes. Right, sir.
According to this statement, are we correct or wrong with this? Clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, if I have another house
And you
bank, it
must
should
be in a
start.
position to identify. Sorry,
If I have another house bank, it should start from next 10 or 11, sir.
10
Number
10.
range.
Your range
10.
is always from 0 to 9. Let's say I have Citibank, Bangalore. Okay, so what will be the GL if this is my second GL? 1 2
Last digit is 10. Hmm.
10 2 1 2
19.
19. Correct?
Okay, sir.
Any doubt in this GL allotment, GL number allotment?
No, sir.
Sir, here we
Clear,
cannot
right?
take that jail from 11 to 20. Is that right?
No. Your GL should strictly start from 0 to 9. Okay,
Oh,
your GL number should start from 0 to 9. Your count is always from 0, not from 1. Okay.
okay.
Now these 10 digits or these 10 account numbers will again have a logic. The 10 GL numbers in SAP are because of proper bank reconciliation purpose. For what purpose we create this 10? For proper BRS purpose. Now, is
Yeah.
BRS an important activity in an organization or not?
Yes, is important.
Right? This is very, very important in every organization. For you to do proper BRS in SAP, you must follow house bank concept. You must follow 10 GL account numbers for each bank concept. If you are not following this, you cannot achieve proper bank reconciliation statement from SAP. These are prerequisites. If you are not creating like this, when you are on the BRS topic, you will not understand anything from BRS, because BRS is completely dependent on your 10 digit or your 10 GL count. If you are not clear with this concept, whatever we have written here, you will not understand BRS conceptually no matter what. I'm telling you upfront, you will not understand BRS at all if you are not clear with the points that we are writing here. If you are clear with these points, BRS is nothing for you. You will tell BRS is so easy, and you will learn BRS within 1 hour. If you are clear with the points that I have mentioned here, BRS is 1 hour for you. You will config BRS, you will test BRS in 1 hour without any mistake, because you already know the concept. You already know what is needed for a bank. You already know how many GLs are needed for a bank, why you need 10 GL accounts, where you are configuring a bank master, what kind of entries are being posted in your bank accounts. If you are clear with all these points, BRS is nothing. It is just a functionality wherein you have small configuration. If I show you BRS config on the system, you have to start looking at points practically from now on. It is not that only when you are on the BRS topic you will talk about BRS. If you're talking about banking, if you're talking about banks, go until the last point of your bank, which is your BRS, which means you have to understand why you're creating house bank, for what purpose. I can create bank entries without house bank, possible or not?
Possible,
Correct?
sir.
Huh? System will not stop me anywhere. But why I'm creating? Because I have the additional requirement called BRS. I want to do BRS in SAP. If I want to do BRS in SAP, I must have house bank set up in SAP. These are all to be defined at the beginning only, which means you have to get the requirement clearly upfront. It is not that all of a sudden I will tell you a topic of BRS. So it should not be a surprise for you. At the beginning itself, you have to think about BRS. Then every account that we are posting in bank, you have to be very clear, you have to be very conscious. Now under SPRO, financial accounting, if I go to bank accounting, I'll find something called business transactions. If I open business transaction, I'll go to payment transaction here. Okay. Now, do you find bank manual bank statement, electronic bank statement?
Yes, sir.
Right, which means BRS can be done in two methods in SAP. One is your manual BRS, second one is your electronic BRS. We call it as MBS, manual bank statement. We call it as EBS, electronic bank statement. Now for both of this, it is similar configuration except 10% difference. If I open manual bank statement, how many settings are there? If I open manual bank statement, how many settings do I find?
3.
3.
I'm now opening manual bank statement. If I open this is separate one. Electronic is separate. Under manual, how many you have? 1, 2, 3.
3.
Only 3.
Only 3 settings, your BRS is completed. Configuration, I mean. Alright. Now in SAP, this configuration is complicated or easy when you see number of steps.
Easy. Easy.
Right? Similarly, if I open electronic, how many steps do you find here? Only 3 or there are so many? Under electronic. Now electronic is until lockbox. So this is logbox until here, from here till here. There are so many, but even though you find so many, there are only 2 things that you are going to do from this. One is your global settings and the other one is search strings. There are only 2 settings that you do. For manual, you are doing 3 steps. For electronic, you are doing only 2 steps. Clear? You will understand what are these 3 steps, what are these 2 steps, only if you are comfortable, you are clear with the concept of these points. Alright. The intention is not to complete the BRS configuration. The intention is to understand the concept of BRS functionally from SAP point of view in terms of a business. If you're working for a client, if you're in an organization, you must relate their bank reconciliation process with SAP. At that time, your BRS configuration is not going to help you. Am I correct? Am I correct? I know how to do configuration of BRS in SAP, but if you take me to a client where the users are performing BRS, should I understand their BRS or not? Yes, no.
Yes.
If I do not understand what the user is doing in BRS, will I be able to configure their BRS in SAP? Unless I am
No,
not
we
clear
can.
with their manual accounting process, you cannot do it. Now, tomorrow you will be questioned like this. Let's say if you are working on a project, you have to implement or you have to configure BRS. Let's say manual BRS or electronic BRS. What will be your approach? How are you going to proceed? If you have to implement BRS for a client, what will be your approach? What will be your way forward? Do not tell straight away this is the configuration SPRO, financial accounting, bank accounting, manual BRS, this, define this, then you're gone. Upfront rejected. Because there the expectation is that you will talk some business process and you will map the business process into SAP. How you are going to do it is what the expectation from that question. So you have to meet these kind of expectations. Whenever somebody is asking a question in the interview, they do never mean the configuration steps. Clear? They never want configuration steps from you. They want how you are going to map this process in SAP. So whether they are asking you to explain practically or not, but your explanation should always be practical. Always connect one of your previous project or always explain in such a way that you have already configured this, not in a generic way. Clear? They are asking you to explain about BRS. You have to start your answer. You have to start your explanation from house bank creation. From where you have to start?
House bank creation.
The answer for your BRS question must begin from house bank. It should never begin from BRS. If you have worked on any project, if you have worked on BRS, you are not going to start your BRS from BRS setting. You are always going to start it from house bank. Even when somebody is asking, start your answer from house bank. The way you are answering will let the other person realize that you have practical knowledge or not. Even though you tell all the configuration steps properly, but just because you have not mentioned anything about house bank, I am not going to get convinced completely. Clear? Because I might put a question, can you do all this setting without house bank config? Then you might say no, it is not possible. Right? That time I should not give you a cross question for the basic points. So you have to ensure you will start your explanation from all the dependent basic points, so that the other person feels you are aware about the concept behind this, what is needed, and through which you are going to complete your BRS configuration, what requirement you will get, what configurations you are going to maintain, how GL accounts are maintained. All these points you have to mention, and where you have to talk about the 10 GL count concept, how entries are posted in BRS, how system will understand where to debit, where to credit, where you are defining that mapping, how system will know that I have to debit this account, credit this account, based on what logic. So there you have to talk all these points. Now these points will sound very, very tricky, very, very confusing at the beginning, but you have to come to this confusion state at the beginning itself. Later on, it has to be simplified, it has to be clear, clarified, right? So only when you are confused, you will get cleared, you will get confidence. At the beginning itself, everything is clear, smooth. Later on, it will get more complex. Getting my point? Right? When we see all this in SAP, you will be able to relate every point that we're discussing. Every confusing point that I've raised now will get clarified practically on the system. Clearer?
Yes.
Now, when we practically do BRS, you will realize that we will complete BRS configuration along with the testing without a single mistake in 1 hour with practical scenarios. Okay, you will take the dates, you will take the bank account number, every information, and you will be able to close this within 60 minutes. And tomorrow, if somebody is asking you, you must be in a position to explain the process flow within couple of minutes, BRS config, without any doubt, without any confusion, and with explanation of any cross question that you get. So that level confidence for you to show, you have to be very strong from the beginning fundamentals. If you're strong on the fundamentals, nobody can create confusion in your mind. If you're only talking about BRS, when you're on the BRS topic, it is not going to stay in your mind for long. Maybe a couple of days, then you will forget everything. Every time you open BRS, it will be there in your mind only for a couple of days. Then again, it will disappear. So do not inject in that way. Clearer? Any doubts so far?
Recently, some banks have been merged. So in that case, should we create a new house bank
Yes,
and transfer the balances to that GL?
right. Because if the banks have been merged, then there will be technical changes in the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When you initiate the bank payments, let's say if you're initiating a check, or if you're initiating any fund transfer or bank to bank transfers, the names and the other details are changed or not.
Yes, yes.
If there is a change, so you'll have to see two possibilities. Option number one, what changes are there in your bank? If account number is same, everything is same except the bank name. You can only change the bank name. But apart from the description, if there is any other changes, you will have to create a new house bank and do a balance transfer.
Okay.
Okay.
And for cash journal, if I'm for my company code, if I'm following profit center as product groups, and if I want to maintain branches balances, should I create multiple GL accounts? Sir?
Yes. For each cash journal, there will be only one GL account. So if you have, let's say, 10 branches,
Hmm.
and at how many levels you want to maintain the petty cash? Let's say in each branch, I want to keep two petty cash outlets or two petty cash counters. So in each branch, I'll have to create two petty cash counters. So there is no limit that you should have only one cash journal or two cash journal. It depends on your business requirement.
But if I maintain profit center as branch, when I check FBL and 3 report, I will not be able to find profit center wise cash balance.
For profit center wise reports, you are not supposed to use your vendor line item report or your customer line item report. You are supposed to use your GL report, your reconciliation GL account of that particular vendor has to be used, or you will have something called receivables profit center, payables profit center.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
you have dedicated reports for vendor based on the profit center, customer based on the profit center.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Otherwise, the other option what you can do is you can simply make a simple customized report wherein you are going to pick your vendor line items based on the your GL balances. Let's say if your FBL1N or FBL5N is not giving you the profit center, you will have to add profit center column by doing a small customization.
It is showing in reconciliation accounts, but it is not showing at line item report. Vendor and customer.
This is the same point which we have already discussed while doing GL posting at the time of
Hmm.
interview simulation.
Hmm.
Okay, is your vendor account showing any field called profit center?
No, no, no.
Why it is not showing? Because profit center accounting is not applicable for subledger.
Hmm.
Right? When you do a
Yes.
simulate general ledger, your vendor
Hmm.
concerned reconciliation account is updated with profit center.
Yes.
Same logic. Your FBL1N is a subledger report which will not have profit center. Even if you have profit center, it will not be filled up for all the lines. You will
Yes, sir.
still
It is
find
not hitting
blanks in the
blank.
profit center because it's a subledger and we are not supposed to get profit center from the subledger report. You should always depend on the main ledger.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
While posting the invoice, we have to pay to the vendor. So we'll select the partner bank. So what is the partner bank details?
Let's say I have vendor Amazon India Limited. Okay, this is your vendor
Okay.
and ignore it if you're not able to understand because I've not explained bank payment, bank transfers yet. We've only talked about check payments. Okay, here,
Okay.
so while creating vendor master, we have to update vendor bank details. Okay, while creating vendor master,
Okay.
what details we have to update? Vendor
Vendor bank details.
bank details. Now, these vendor bank details are used for bank transfer payments. What payments?
Bank transfer payment.
Bank transfer payment. When you're talking about bank transfer, you're talking about transferring or depositing amount directly in the vendor account. No check, no cash. Agree?
Yes.
Let's say, example one. If Amazon has only access bank account. Okay, and example 2, if Amazon has Axis and Citibank accounts. In first case, how many bank accounts Amazon is holding?
Only one bank, Axis Bank account.
Only one bank. So in this case, there is no difference if you use partner bank or not, because there is only one bank account, correct? It will directly
Yes,
go
sir.
to the same account number, agree?
Oh, yes.
Whereas in this case, so we must use partner bank concept. Okay, partner bank is nothing but a unique code for bank account. So unique code, this is basically we use 4 digits. How many digits?
4 digits.
4 digits. So in my vendor master, what I'll do, I'll say 1001, I'll define it as Axis. 1002, I will define it as city. Now, whenever I'm making a payment, I have to indicate properly on my payment transaction. Is it recorded on the payment transaction or on the invoice transaction? When are you going to issue the payment?
Invoice transaction.
When are you going to issue the payment? During invoice or during payment?
During payment.
The payment is issued during payment, but partner bank is assigned during invoice. Where do you assign partner bank?
During the invoice.
During the invoice, you are going to assign the partner bank. Based on this, payment transaction will pick bank details from invoice. If my invoice is representing Citibank, my payment will be transferred to Citibank account number. If my invoice is representing Axis, my payment my payment will be transferred to Axis. If I do not mention anything, the first bank will be used. Okay,
Yes. Okay.
clear? You have
Yes,
not
clear.
come to this topic. When we are on this topic, I'll show you on the screen.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Clear your doubt or you're still confused?
Yeah, it's clear, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other doubts?
No, sir.
All right then. So we'll close this for now. Let's connect at the same time tomorrow.